Depending on where you are in Australia, good afternoon and good evening. My name's Dante St. James. Unfortunately, my video camera on this device just stopped working just as I was getting in here. So my apologies, I won't be able to show my video on here, but we shall be able to share the screen without any issues also, issues with that. I'll try and start up the camera again, but it just really doesn't want to work. So we'll go without a camera today. At least we've got nice clear audio to work with in the case of having also a clear display here. Now, the Q&A chat window, all those items are open, so you can ask questions along the way. I will warn you, though, this one will move quite quickly. I do have quite a lot to cover with this one. It is an overall, or I guess an overview of marketing in general, especially in this particular world that we're living in right now. So I'm taking this look at marketing from a very digital point of view, and there are other sessions we can run on more traditional marketing methods as well. A quote here from Steve Jobs saying the most powerful person in the world is the storyteller. The storyteller sets the vision, the values, and the agenda of an entire generation that is to come. He certainly did it, and a lot of other people have as well. In this session, we're going to look at what is essentially a marketing degree in a nutshell. We're looking at the customer journey, your channels that you're going to use to promote with, and building what is a marketing overview or a marketing strategy of sorts. So as I said, this will move rather quickly. So if you do have questions, whack them in the Q&A if you can, so that we can sort of handle those as they come through. And as I get through that section, I can sort of ask questions at the end of it, and then some more at the end of the whole thing if we want to. So please put on your seatbelt, hold on tight. This will move quickly, but please do ask those questions in the Q&A if they do come up. This is brought to you by Business Station through the Australian Small Business Advisory Services Digital Solutions Program, an initiative of the Australian Government, presented in WA by Business Station, Queensland by Regional Development Australia Brisbane, and in the Northern Territory by Treaty Business Consulting. A little bit about me, so I don't need to put on my camera because there I am right there. This is about October, so I don't think the belly got any bigger than that since then. I think my education through the Western Sydney University, where I studied medicine, moving on to marketing and business information systems at the University of New South Wales, and doing my bachelor and master's in those. I've done a bunch of stuff through the Chartered Institute of Marketing in the UK, and a whole bunch of little micro credentials that I call them, little diplomas and certificates through TAFE New South Wales as well. I work as a digital marketing associate, media planning professional, creative strategist, and lead trainer with Facebook Australia, New Zealand. And through Google's Digital Springboard program, I deliver a whole bunch of stuff right across Australia to do with Google skills and lots of googly goodness. Lots of other stuff I do with government programs, but what we want to look at is what tonight's or this afternoon's session is all about, which is marketing in a nutshell. What it basically is. I'll tell you what it isn't. Marketing is not advertising, but advertising is a form of marketing. So you get this idea that marketing is not necessarily something you pay for, but the paid ads of marketing do play their part and play their role in the world of marketing as well. So digital marketing then is broadly broken up into these two categories, what we call discovery and what we call search. Discovery and search are two very different things, and they're kind of arranged around the idea that discovery is how a customer can discover you without necessarily looking for you through things like social media, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, Pinterest, TikTok, Snapchat, all those kind of areas where someone's not necessarily on a mission to look for you. They're just wanting to be entertained, or they're just wanting to do something online, and they come across you by chance through an ad or through a post that's being shared by a friend. Whereas search is a little different. It's all about a customer, the customer in that case, can search for you. They are actually looking for you. They've got some intent behind them, and they're searching for you using a search engine like Google or Bing or Yahoo, or they're looking for bookings in places like Booking.com, Expedia, TripAdvisor, things like that. Two very different ways, two very different paths, I guess, for a customer to find you. One finding you by chance through discovery, one finding you very deliberately through searching either directly for you or for what it is you actually do. Now, the discovery customer is pretty, I guess, free flowing. They're not necessarily looking to book, or they're not necessarily looking to buy. They're not impulsive bookers, buyers, or inquirers. They're very early in the process, and they're very unlikely to buy now. When it comes to the customer journey, they're really early in that stage. They're not yet ready to buy or commit to anything. But when someone's searching specifically for you or what you do, they have a very high intent to either book or buy or make an inquiry or click a button. They're done with their research. They're very late in the process of the buying of the customer journey, and they're so much more likely than the person through social media to buy now. So discovery, remembering, is the person who's very early in the stage of looking for what they are looking for. The search person is very late in that era. So you can aim at those two very different areas through different kinds of advertising or activities online, whether it's, appealing to people through organic social media posts on Facebook or ads on Instagram. Or if you go the other route with search, you could be looking at doing some SEO work on your website, or even doing Google ads or Bing ads to get to the top of those search engine inquiries at the very point at where someone's specifically looking for what you do. Now we're going to look at every marketing activity having an aim to achieve, an objective. And that objective or that goal could be either to get known, to get found, or to stay known. So we're talking about you now. You've got 3 different objectives, 3 different goals or aims that you want to achieve in some way. So getting known is all about someone knowing who you are for the very first time. They've not met you before. They've not dealt with you before. This is a very, very beginning of the process. That customer journey moves toward the getting found. So this is when you want to be able to have customers find you where you are, find your products and services, find your website, find your profiles on social media. And the stay known process is a little bit of loyalty, but it's also a little bit of, once you're in someone's head, you want to be able to stay there so that you understand when someone's talking about breakfast cereal, cornflakes rises to the top because of the word Kellogg's. We all know Kellogg's cornflakes. We all know Wheat Bix. We all know Cocoa Pops because of lots of stuff that's been known to not just get us known as to those particular brands when we're young, but advertising and marketing has been put in place to ensure that we continue to stay known for those things. So once you've got the get known, get found, stay known is what you ultimately want to achieve, then you've got 3 different channels that you're going to use. And we're going to cover these in a lot more detail a little bit later on. Those 3 channels are things that you own access to, things that you've earned your way onto, and things that you're paid your way onto. And as I said, we'll cover those a little bit later because they're probably those things where you go, okay, what exactly are they? What exactly are the places I might own, earn, or be paid to enter onto? So as a basic idea, what we call owned channels are those things that you own access to, or at least control the access to. Earned channels, someone else may own it, but you are rewarded access to it. So you're rewarded access to it, or you're allowed access to it in some way. A paid channel is that someone else owns it and you pay to access it. So obvious ones there are like TV and radio advertising, right? And earned could be something like an interview on the radio. Owned is your own website. You own access to it. You control access to it. You earn your way onto a radio station by getting an interview, and you pay your way onto a radio station by buying ads onto it. But we will cover more of that later. How all this works together is that in the get known phase of when you want someone to get to know your brand or your business, you will use your owned, earned, and paid accesses or channels or media to be able to get someone to reach you. Same with the get found. You use your owned, your earned, and your paid channels to do that. And in the stay known phase, you'll also use own, earned, and paid. Please don't get too caught up on all those little arrows pointing. That's just showing that there's lots of options available to you just in these 3 very basic levels of what you want to achieve with your business when it comes to marketing. Get known, get found, and stay known. So let's look at the get known first. Those owned channels you may have, things like your website, your social media properties. Now you might say, I don't own those, they're owned by Facebook, but you own access to them. So you're able to get into those properties and promote things on them. Your friends can't promote things on your Facebook profile or your Facebook business page. Your friends can't access, or your competitors can't access your Facebook page or your TikTok account. So it's yours. Your social media is obviously going to be that. Your shop front is your shop front. You can put signs in your window, for instance, that is a form of a channel to promote things through. Your vehicle can be sign written and have signs on it that allow you to use that as a promotional channel. So again, those are all your owned channels. When we move on to the earned channels, we're looking at things that you're earning your way into. These can include interviews and guest spots on radio and TV shows. It can include features in in-flight magazines and other magazines, editorials, for instance, ones you haven't had to pay your way into, that someone's just said, I want to do an interview and a little bit on there. Sriani has just asked what a TikTok account is. TikTok is another form of social media that is based around short, quick 15 to 60 second video. It's very similar to what's called Instagram Reels on Instagram. So a very short video that you sit there, flick through and watch another one, another one, another one, another one, rather than longer format video, which is more like YouTube. Good question. Paid medium or paid channels are then things like TV and radio ads, Facebook ads, outdoor ads, Google ads, paying for influencers to do something with you as well. They're all those things that are enabling you to get access to a big audience, but you have to pay your way on to get those. That probably makes that make a bit more sense in there, right? So the get found also has its own level of owned, earned, and paid. So we look at the get known, which is get people to know you for the very first time. If you want people to find you, you can use things like signs in your shop front on a main street. So if people are looking for you, they find you easily, or they're looking for what you do, they find you easily. Someone arrives in your town for the first time, goes down the main shopping street and discovers that they found your store because it's clearly marked on that store what your store is. Say, for instance, you own a bookstore and you want to make sure that people looking for bookstores in your town know where to find you just by walking down the main street. Your shop front signage is an owned channel that you can use for that. Getting found and earned is things through search results through Google, for instance. So you use a process called search engine optimization to be able to optimize your website to be much more easily found in amongst a sea of different websites out there that come back in the search results of Google. Now, we won't cover off in this particular webinar how to get search engine optimization off the ground. It's a whole other deal altogether, and I'll be covering a lot more SEO related stuff in another webinar, or you can check out the webinars I've done in the past on this very topic through YouTube. Just look for my name, Dante St. James, or search up Business Station, and you'll also be able to see some of the other great webinars that have been offered for free from other advisors on the ASBAS Digital Solutions platform. Phone books allow you to get found. So you earn your way in there usually by having a phone number listed in the directory, or, that's not necessarily a paid listing in a directory. This is just phone numbers that appear in a phone book. Your owned media can also be word of mouth. That's probably the greatest of all the earned channels that you can have at the get found stage. That someone, if you're going to friends and saying, hey, I'm looking for someone who makes great wedding cakes. And they go, oh, you're not going to find her anywhere, but look, here's her number, here's her email address, reach out to her. Antoinette does these amazing wedding cakes, for instance. So that's word of mouth, and probably the most powerful because it comes with a personal recommendation that has been earned because of the good work you've done. An example of paid mediums that you can use, or paid channels that you can use in the get found stage for marketing your business, are things like paying for ads in Google, paying for listings in the yellow pages, using visitor centers in your town. So for instance, the visitor information centers for tourists, putting your flyers in there if that's an appropriate place for you to be advertised, or things like trade magazines as well, which can be really useful for making sure that you've got access to other things like, if you're selling business to business, a trade magazine could be very, very powerful for you because it connects you with the kind of people who are buying the things you're selling in that particular industry. And then, of course, the owned, earned, and paid sits very much in the stay known area too. So things like email lists, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube are all directions you can have people going to stay in the top of their mind for what it is you do. And they're all things that you own the access to. Loyalty schemes, referrals, rewards, all that sort of thing is what we call earned. So you have a way that you've earned people's trust to use your loyalty campaign, to get a coffee card. So we've all had those in the past, buying cups of coffee and tea from the local cafe. Or it could be something as big as Flybys or Woolworths Rewards is an example of earned channels where they have earned someone's trust to be added into that particular database, and they're offered lots of chances to use rewards points against things. So referrals through loyalty programs are a huge source of earned revenue for a business. Marketing then comes also from referrals. So this could be earning a referral from someone, say, for instance, in a business network. So it could be a local chamber of commerce, your local tourism association. It could be one of those closed business networks like BNI, for example. They will give you the opportunity to earn referrals to your business from other people in that particular business network, referring either work from themselves or people they know out there in the rest of the world as well. If you want to stay known too, well, paying for ongoing television, Facebook ads, retargeting of Google and Facebook ads, putting ads out there for incentives so you can offer discounts and value added things for free or at a lower cost to keep people in the top of mind and still dealing with you later. So that's get known, get found, and stay known are the three main objectives that anybody who's looking to market their business are going to go for. And then it's just a matter of choosing the channels that you're going to use that are going to match that particular objective. If you want to get known, what are the channels that you own access to that you're going to use? If you want to get found, what are the channels that you can pay your way onto to assume that you can get found when you want to be? And if you want to stay in the top of mind for people, what are the channels that you can earn your way onto or pay your way onto that allow you to be able to be there in the right spot for those people when they need you down the track? So an example I'm going to use here, I've got a couple of those. I'm going to use what we call the Barkly Adventure Farm in the Barkly region of the Northern Territory around a place called Tennant Creek. Now, to get known, they may have ran television ads in Adelaide because they had an idea that lots of different people are coming up to Adelaide, from Adelaide up the Stuart Highway. So they thought it'd be a good idea to do advertising to help them to get known in that market. They also attended a trade show in Perth, which got them known amongst a lot of the travel agents and bulk tour buying companies. They also did some Facebook ads nationally that helped them to get known through a whole bunch of video ads that they decided to run on Facebook. Now, their example could be if they wanted to get found, that they did a whole bunch of search engine optimization or SEO work on their website. They may have updated their Google My Business profile to ensure that they have all the right connections through there. They've got new videos showing on it, new photos showing on it, their new opening hours on it. They got links through to where they can book a day at the Barkly Adventure Farm. All those things have been updated on their Google My Business profile as well. Or they might have gone and paid their way onto Google Ads. So they're paying to get results for Google Ads for things to do in Tennant Creek or things to do in Barkly or things to do in the Northern Territory. And they've paid their way for Google Ads to help get that message across so they could get found easily at the top of search results. Finally, an example of how they might want to be stay known is that they send out things like emails to previous guests, or what they call a comeback incentive, which is saying to people who had already been there before, here's a chance for you to come back and see us again at a reduced rate. Or they might have referral rewards. Give your friend this code when they decide to book their trip to come and see us, and they will save 20%, and you'll also get a free gift in the mail, or whatever it is you have access to be able to do. Now, smaller businesses, you can't be giving away everything you own. You can't be giving away too much access to stuff. So you want to be able to be very careful with these ones, especially in the stay known. Most of your activity really tends to sit in the get known and get found rather than the stay known. If you're a tourism related business, then quite often the stay known is not that important to you, because when people come and see you, they may only see you once in their lifetime, but the referrals that go on from that are really important to do. Another example, again, from tourism is Crocodile River Cruises in Northern Territory. These are both fictitious businesses I've made up. So this is in the top end up towards the Darwin area. So they might have hosted an influence. They wanted to get known to a group of people they weren't previously known to. So they paid for an influencer to come and spend time with their experience on their crocodile cruise on the Adelaide River. They also, at the same time, paid for Facebook ads. So the influencer is a paid item. The Facebook ads are a paid item. And the being featured on a fishing show in their case as another get known was not a paid item, but an earned item. They the fishing show really wanted to feature them, and they decided, yeah, no worries, we'll gladly be featured on your show. So they earned their way onto that. When it comes to the get known, then that's adding yourself to things like Apple Maps, because they realized that they were found easily on Google Maps, but not on Apple Maps. And most people who are self-drivers are using iPhones, and iPhones don't tend to use Google Maps, they tend to use Apple Maps. So if your pin on the map isn't present on Apple Maps, then you may have to do that separately. So there's a process you can go through that gets your pin on the map on Apple Maps if it's not already there. Quite often, Apple just imports what's on Google Maps anyway. But in some cases, particularly for new businesses, it may take quite a while for your business to be showing on the map in Apple, even though it is showing and has shown for a while on the map on Google. Using, they might have decided that they want to get found by advertising themselves as a member on, say, Tourism Top End or Tourism Northern Territories websites. So by being a member of Tourism Top End, it gets them a search engine result, which is quite high up on the results for the local tourism association. And also spending some time optimizing their Google My Business, which is an owned property for them. Apple Maps well, you own your access to Apple Maps, so that's an owned channel as well. But joining a tourism association to advertise yourself and to be easily found is actually a paid channel. And finally, if they want to be stayed known, then you're looking at things like emailing photos to guests after they've been. So that's a way of letting someone know, hey, you were here with us a week ago. Here's a great photo we caught of you that we thought you might have, just to remind you of the great time you had with us. That could be a great way of encouraging return visits, offering return discounts if someone comes back in a year. I know the theme parks in Queensland are very, very good with this. They offer you saying, okay, well, you came here once. If you pay a little bit more, you'll be able to access us anytime this year at all, as many times as you like. So they often make that for tourist discount, for locals discounts, but also for people who may tend to visit the area quite a few times. They may not be from the Gold Coast, but they might be from Sydney, and they visit there quite a number of times every year for different reasons, and it gives them free access that they've already paid for to be able to go and see that theme park again and again and again. And then things like tagging your guests on Facebook and Instagram photos and videos so that people get that thrill of seeing their name showing against something. And on social media, that's not such a bad thing. It's actually quite a good thing. People actually want to be seen. They want to have themselves tagged, even if they see it. It gives them that little hint of what they call dopamine hit in your brain. It's like a little neurotransmitter chemical, but it makes you feel good. It gives you a little bit of a buzz that makes you feel good. So they're examples of how you would use your channels in the process of getting known, getting found, and then finally staying known. So now we move on to our familiar words that you might have heard of, which is the sales funnel. And the sales funnel is best described as being basically the journey of the customer getting from not knowing anything about you to knowing enough about you to want to buy from you. The sales funnel is all about getting people to jump into that journey towards you. And there's 3 stages to it. There's the awareness stage where they don't know anything about you and they have a chance to learn something about you. They may not even be looking for you. Moving down to the consideration stage where they're often comparing you with others who do what you do, and they'll be looking at your pricing, your offering, and making a choice based on their best educated guess about what's going to be the better time for them. Right down to the next and the final stage, which is conversion. They convert from being someone who's interested in you to someone who's now ready to buy from you. So in the awareness stage, it's always a hallmark of them knowing that they're not looking for you at all. They just have no interest in you whatsoever. They may not know you exist. They may not even have any interest in what you do or what you sell or who you are. At this stage, they're completely blind. Think of this as someone who has never ever considered they needed to buy a Honda car, but they see an ad for a Honda car for the first time. They go, huh, okay, that's interesting, but don't do anything about it necessarily. They're not going from being completely unaware and completely oblivious about what you are and what you do, or your products and services, to suddenly wanting to buy. They're still very much in that, oh, that's interesting. They've developed a basic interest in what you do, but not enough yet to buy from you. The next stage being consideration, that they know you exist. They actually now have an interest in what you do and they want what it is you do or what you sell. And they're now starting to line you up against others who do something or something similar or something the same as what you do to compare you. So they might be looking at price comparisons. They might be looking at availability. They may be looking at styles and colors, and they may be looking at, in terms of services, comparing your particular service. Let's just say that you're an alternative health practitioner. They'll compare you to other things that they think that you maybe like. So for instance, if you're doing hypnotherapy, they'll consider you up against people who do neuro-linguistic programming. If you're an NLP, neuro-linguistic programming practitioner, they'll compare you to people who do traditional counseling services. And looking at counseling, they're comparing you to psychologists. So there's lots and lots of different comparisons that could go on at this stage. These people may be ready to buy once they know enough about you. So their consideration is now there because they're looking to buy. Their intent is a lot stronger than what it was when they first entered into that sales funnel. Remember at that top bit, the awareness bit? Well, then that awareness bit, they were nowhere near ready to buy from you. Very, very few. In fact, less than 10% of people who are in that stage of the journey will actually ever buy from you. It's a very strong impulse that would get somebody to buy at that time who's not normally lending themselves to the wanted to buy. But in this stage, it goes up to about 20%, where 20% of people will jump straight from consideration into buying. So they're going, okay, lined up very quickly, considered, yep, buy now. I found my thing. This is things like booking hotels is very high on the consideration because you've got all the prices and all the options right in front of you on something like Expedia or What If or Last Minute or one of the other, like hotels.com and booking.com. All the information you need to do the consideration is right there in front of you. So things like booking.com, for instance, have done a really good job of being able to line up all the options so you can do a very, very quick comparison and jump straight from consideration into booking that hotel room. Same with things like Webjet for airlines, or Skyscanner is another one where you can compare different airlines prices, and then you can make a very, very quick decision once you're in that consideration stage to buy. But if what you're selling is not a product, it is a service. If what you're selling is over that $1,000 mark, it's very unlikely that someone, unless they're quite well off, is ready to spend $2,000 on what you do based upon an impulsive decision. That's a rare kind of person who does that. And the kind of person who does that, they don't tend to be the kind of customers that are going to stick around for long. You may get that initial $2,000 out of them, but if they haven't done their due diligence on that $2,000, they won't be spending another $2,000 on you because they've probably bought that from an impulsive reason and not really looked at the repercussions of making that purchase. So in this stage, in this consideration stage, you're creating the sort of content that you want to create that enables you to be adequately compared to others who do what you do adequately, being able to compete on some level of price, or if you're not competing on a level of price, then it's very clear what the benefits are of what you do if you do have a price that is higher than the others that do what you do. Finally, the conversion stage, they are ready to book, they're ready to buy, they're ready to commit. But this is a stage where people are very easily distracted. Think about it when you've gone to buy something online, how easily you can be distracted from making that purchase simply by the fact that the phone rang and a notification came up, an ad on TV came up that got your attention, kids started crying, the kettle boiled, you need to go to the toilet. All these kind of different distractions will come up when someone's in that buying stage, when they're in that conversion stage of going from just interested in what you do to finally ready to buy what you do. This is the zone where people start to get fear of buyer's remorse. So I do it all the time when I'm going onto apps to buy stuff. I look at that and go, oh, that'd be cool. I'm going to put that in my cart. And we do a whole lot of adding things to cart. And then what will happen? I'll get distracted. I'll get a phone call. I'll get back to work. I've got to get up and make my lunch. I've got to get up and make dinner. I've got to do something that's going to take me away from the computer or the phone with which I was just interacting with to buy something. I'd made my decision to convert, but something distracted me away from it. The ability for you to be able to get someone easily on an online property, particularly on a website, to go from, being ready to book to avoiding that distraction is a process we call conversion optimization. And that's a whole science of marketing that's to do with how you can make your website so compelling, so easy to use, so frictionless, and so simple to be able to go from wanting to buy to actually completing the sale that someone just slides straight through it. It's like digital lubricant. It just slides on straight through. There's no friction whatsoever. And this is things like Amazon that do this so well, eBay to a lesser degree, but also places like Wish, the app called Wish. All three of those marketplaces have made that buying process so simple that you save all your details in there. They've got your details permanently there so that when you go in and you want to book or you want to pay or you want to do something, the process is so fast and so simple and so easy that before you know it, you've bought something and it's being packaged and it's being delivered to you in the next few days. So that kind of experience, yes, that's called conversion optimization. And so few people who are small businesses that have websites or who have online stores ever even think about the fact that they need to make that experience as seamless and as simple as possible. So let's consider where people are at when they're in this funnel. We start off in the awareness stage, and this is where there's many, many people in it. But as we get further down to the consideration stage, we've got some people, but a lot less than what we had. And in the conversion stage, we only have very, very few, or possibly even one person who goes through. So you might have started off with your video on Facebook, for instance, getting 1,000 views. Of that 1,000 views, only really about 100 people were looking at that at any sort of interest enough to be considering purchasing what you are proposing or going ahead with your services that you've been putting a proposal out there for them to consider. And that might be 100, right? But once you get to the conversion stage, out of all those 100 people, only 3 people may actually go through to complete that sale or to complete that booking with you. So this is where the funnel is called a funnel, because it starts off with room for plenty of people, but as it starts to squeeze, only very few people can fit down that funnel at one time. The idea being that you've always got something, some sort of activity, some sort of advertising, some sort of activity in marketing that's putting more people into the top of that funnel. Because you have 1,000 people going down to 100 who are considering you and 3 that may buy from you. Well, you want then 10,000 people in the awareness stage, so that you've then got, 1,000 people considering you, and then 30 people going to convert to be customers from you. So the more people you've got coming in, and the awareness stage allows you then to have a consideration stage that's got enough people to fuel the conversions and sales that you want to get in the very end. So remember, when we look at these different stages, that there's a whole lot of people who are not ready to buy yet. less people who want to buy, but they're still comparing and still shopping around. And then the very few people who are actually in that ready to buy or in the process of buying that product or service from you. How this looks in the real world, say for Barefoot Desert Tours, that they have an awareness ad, which is a television ad, highlighting the beauty of the desert. So it lets people know that you can experience the beauty of the desert with Barefoot Desert Tours. You may not have considered ever going on a desert tour. You may not have ever considered going bushwalking. You may not have even considered that's even something you do as a tourist, apart from laying around in Bali drinking, I know, espresso martinis by a pool. The consideration stage of that then would be something like the Facebook ads targeting people traveling in, say, Alice Springs right now. So these are the kind of people who are considering things to do when they're in the town of Alice Springs. Now, they may have seen the TV ad that highlighted the beauty of the desert. That drove them to go on a journey through to Alice Springs, which they got to Alice Springs now, and they go, oh, that's right, that's that place that advertised and got us to go on this road trip in the first place. Fantastic. Here's a chance for us to go on that tour that got us all inspired. At the conversion end, it's when they get online to book it and they see that TripAdvisor has a special on right now if you book before the end of March or the end of April in our case now. So this is an idea that would give them, first of all, something that's going on in the top of the funnel, which is at the awareness stage, which is creating a hunger for what it is that they do and where they are. The consideration stage is then capturing people while they're in the market to be able to then go and do this thing. If they're looking for something to do, and they might even make an impulsive decision to go and do something, that you will be at the top of their mind when they go into the local tourist office to look at things to book and do. And then finally in the conversion stage, when they do go to book and they've expressed an interest, and Facebook even picks up what that particular interest is and helps them to deliver that interest, then they see something which is offering them a way to get that experience, but get it at a special deal, a special price, or perhaps with some value added onto it, such as free breakfast at sunrise at the beginning of it, perhaps as an incentive to get people to go and do this thing now whilst they are shopping around, booking and doing things online that are got them spending money. So now we're going to look at your channels and what they are. Now, you might remember when we're looking at the channels being all about the owned channels, the earned channels, and the paid channels. These are the three types of marketing channels. What we're going to do is look at what's in those each type. So the owned channels can include things like your website and landing pages, YouTube channels, blogs, Medium, which is an online kind of magazine full of lots of articles, YouTube even. You own access to all of these channels. Facebook pages and groups that you own access to. Instagram profiles that you own access to. And things like Twitter, TikTok and Pinterest as places that you own access to your boards, your pins, your tweets, all that stuff you own access to. You also may own access to things like your vehicle signage, your shop signage, and things like flyers and leaflets and catalogs that are going out to letterboxes in your local area. So whilst you don't own the letterboxes, you do own the power to be able to put something in those letterboxes. Of course, they might have a sign there saying, please don't put junk mail in here. And then you don't own that at all. You have to probably pay your way into that person's heart and soul in some other way. Examples of earned channels can include things like interviews on radio and TV that we were looking at before, editorial space in newspapers where they do a story on you for some reason. It could be featured articles in local or national magazines or even international magazines for that matter. I know that one of my local bars here in Darwin, Charlie's Rooftop Gin Distillery, just got featured in a great big international magazine about being one of the top 20 bars that you should see in the world before you die. It's a pretty big, that's my neighborhood bar. It's literally like 50 meters outside my front door. So it's a pretty big deal for me to go, wow, I can go to my local bar and it's actually one of the top bars in the world, apparently. Don't know about that, but you can write blog posts about you or other people who've written blog posts about you. So they've earned your way into their website, that they're so much so that they've decided that they're going to write a feature about you on their blogs. And that's excellent because that gives you great search engine optimization juice. That gives extra points that Google will give you for your website, especially if they link to your website. They don't necessarily have to link to it for you to get that value in SEO. It could be that they mention your brand name, and that could be enough for it to go, oh yeah, I know what that brand name is. I know where that is. That's definitely a point for reputation for that particular business of yours. Shares on social media are earned. So for instance, someone decides to share a post that you put out there, then you've earned that share. You've earned the trust, you've earned the credibility for them to want to share your particular post, your offer, your recommendation, whatever it is you put out there. And then you got shout outs on social media too. Someone actually saying, hey, a shout out to the guys at Territory Butchers who today sponsored our cricket club to the tune of $250 worth of meat trays. So that sort of thing is an earned thing as well. In their case, they probably paid for that because they've had to give away $250 worth of meat trays. But I think you get what I'm saying here, that these are places where you don't necessarily own the access to. You haven't necessarily paid your way on, but you've somehow done something to earn your way into those channels mentioning you and your business. Then you can also have an earned channel as being word of mouth, probably the greatest of them all. Referrals, which is pretty much the same as word of mouth, but a little bit more formalized in the fact that you will actually go, hey, I'm going to connect you to those two people. I'm going to connect you to those I'm going to connect you to that business who is going to help you out with that thing you want to do. Reviews and recommendations also are another form of word of mouth, that earned channel for you. Your paid channels then can include things like your Google ads, Bing ads, Yahoo ads, TV ads, radio ads, and more ads. Print and outdoor advertising, the ads on the back of the bus, the ads on the side of the taxis, the ads in the signs in the local shopping center, the ads on the backs of the toilet doors in the shopping center or in the airports. Tend to have a lot of those as well. It could be Facebook and Instagram ads, LinkedIn ads, TikTok ads, Snapchat ads, anything you've had to pay yourself into to get hold of that large audience that may exist in that particular format. So whether it's social media or Google or television, radio, movies, any of that sort of thing, you've had to pay your way in. So that's a paid channel that you can use. Now, your marketing plan is likely not going to be dominated by any one of these things. It's usually going to be a combination of lots of different ones. So you might use an earned channel being word of mouth through a business network. It could be paid channel, which is used for business, for especially small businesses, using Facebook and Instagram ads. For a owned channel, that will be something like promotions through your website or through your own social media channels. So you use a little bit of everything and bring them all together. So you've got a combination of things all working for you in different ways. And when you do that, you want to consider then what your available channels are. What have you actually got available to you that's owned? What are the things you may be able to earn your way onto? What are the things you may be able to pay your way onto? And then think about what channels in each of these types have you used before and did they work? What channels do you then plan to use in the future? So you may have used Google ads once before and you found that didn't really work for you. So you go, well, that's not a paid channel I want to try out. I've been burned once. I don't want to use that again. So what I'm going to do this time, I'm going to try to do some ads on Pinterest instead, because my target audience may actually be there. So if that's your case, then think about what your available channels are. What channels do you own the access to? Think about your website. Think about your social media channels. Think about your sign writing on cars and offices and shop fronts and all that. What are your owned channels? Can you get hold of a local radio presenter and say, hey, I've got something I can talk about that's of interest to your audience? Do you have, like, for instance, I've got a weekly spot on a radio station in the Northern Territory that allows me to talk about all things technology, that for me lets people know that I'm someone who knows lots about technology, therefore that people would know that if they need technology questions answered, they can come and pay me to answer those questions as an advisor or as a consultant. My owned things would be Facebook, my YouTube channel, my Instagram profile. It can be my many websites that I've got access to. They're all my own channels. And my paid channels are, I do a lot of boosted posts on Facebook to go to markets that I don't live in, but I am wanting to work with. I can do my ongoing Facebook ads and Google ads, which are drawing people to my website all the time. And I've also done some earned work to get around 800 search results coming to my website every week, which is helping me to get my name even further up the search channels for what I do. And that's because I wrote one article on how to advertise by targeting people in Facebook groups. And that's just getting so many different search results coming through every week that it's actually now starting to make the rest of my site get a lot more busy too, and the whole business getting busy. So one little piece of content can actually draw you a lot of extra traffic that you never knew you had before. So let's look at bringing all this together. So when we want to bring it all together, we want to have a look at the fact that you need to look at a marketing overview that looks at what your objectives are. So your objectives are either to get known or to get found or to stay known. So you'd circle one of those if this was a piece of paper right now. Then we look at what your customer journey map is. Is your customer at the awareness stage? Are they at the consideration stage? Or are they at the conversion stage of their journey from complete obliviousness to you or ignorance of who you are and what you do and what you sell to wanting to buy from you? And then finally, you would look in this marketing action plan or overview or strategy about what channels you have to work with. Say, for instance, you want to get known to people in the awareness stage of their journey towards you. Then you might use one of your own channels, say your Instagram profile, to get known to people who are in the awareness stage of shopping with you. That tends to then look a little bit like this. Remember that one we saw before that had the lines between them? Well, this is where it starts to look now. So to get known, you may again use in the awareness stage some of your own channels, or to get known, you may use in the consideration stage some of your owned channels. Whatever the different mix is going to be, every marketing activity is going to flow from the left through the right in some way, shape, or form. Now, this is a little confusing to look at. This next one is a lot easier to see. So you have a think about this. If your objective is to get known, and your objective is just a way of saying what your goal is that you want to get known, then that translates into you picking to get known in what stage of the customer journey. You want someone to know who you are and know your brand and know all about you in the awareness stage or the consideration stage or the conversion stage. And then once you've identified that you want to get known in the, say, consideration stage, what are the owned, earned, and paid channels you're going to use to move them along either to the next stage or to get them to buy from you? So ultimately, you want to get people from awareness to consideration and consideration to conversion, or even in some lucky cases to get them straight from awareness to conversion. So if you want to get known, consider where your customer is, and then what channels you can use to reach your customer or your potential customer in that stage of the customer journey. So that's a lot to think about. So it's the same with getting known as getting found, for instance. Same thing exactly. What do you want to achieve in that first one? Who do you want to achieve it with? What kind of customer? Where are that customer at? And what are the methods or the channels you're going to use to get them to do that thing you need them to use? So the same thing then applies, obviously, to the stay known part of it as well. Usually a stay known person is not really at the awareness stage. They already know who you are. So they'll tend to more be at the consideration and conversion stage, but the principles still sound. If you want to stay known to someone who will then they have a consideration of using you again, what are the owned, earned, and paid channels that you're going to use in order to be the one that's not only considered, but the one who is then bought in the conversion stage as well? So that's the main sort of crux around how you will move a customer from not knowing anything about you through to buying from you and identifying exactly what those different channels are that you have access to. So let's just go through that a little bit once more. Considering if you want to get known, what stage is your customer at in their journey towards buying something from you? Then once you've identified that, you identify what channels that you own access to or have the ability to earn your way onto, or that you have the ability to pay your way onto, will you reach them on? Now, if I have to look at this get known thing, knowing there's just about all small businesses on this call tonight or this afternoon, then you're mostly going to be going for getting known in the awareness stage and using things like Facebook ads and your Facebook account, and maybe even your website that you own access to be able to get hold of that. Because let's face it, you're not all going to have a lot of money to be spending on television ads and radio ads and all that kind of thing to be able to reach people in their downtime. You're mostly thinking you're going to use the cheaper channels you can reach onto, especially local customers. If you're doing something which is very much geared towards a local market, then the ideal way to reach them for the least amount of money would be through Facebook and Instagram ads, which you can do for, $2.50, $5, $10 a day. So you're looking at what, $75 through to $300 a month to be able to advertise. When you start looking at TV and radio in large metropolitan areas, that's certainly not going to, it's going to cost you a heck of a lot more than that. Or if you're in a regional area, I know, for instance, in Darwin, we've got the ability to be able to advertise on television for roughly around about $600 a month to get a really good coverage in unsold airtime, which is a lot of, on, say, Channel 10. So you can reach a lot of people that way, but it will take you a while to reach them because not everybody who's watching Channel 10 is going to be necessarily watching the ads, or even secondarily going to be in a place where they have any interest whatsoever in your particular product. Whereas using something like Facebook or Instagram ads would give you the ability to be able to advertise very, very directly to someone, very, very precisely to the kind of customer that is showing and demonstrating an interest in what you do and the products you sell. So you've got the opportunity to be able to do that in the get known stage, in the get found stage, and also in the stay known stage. Now, I'm doing a series of these that explain the basics of marketing. We've now looked at the basic marketing 101. On Thursday, April 15, I'm doing another one of these webinars for free on the get known stage. So we're going to look at the concepts of branding, the concepts of showing influence and using social media and harnessing social media to be able to achieve getting known. On Tuesday, April 20, the get found part of the series is all about SEO, search engine optimization, and the process of conversion optimization. So looking at the basics of how you can get found. And it's not up on the Business Station site just yet, but the final in the series is called Stay Known. And it's all about using the tools to be able to execute these things. So using graphics through Canva and Crello and other tools, video through InVideo and Wave Video and other tools like that, user-generated content, harnessing that and creating what we call moments. And I've got some fantastic and quite inspirational examples of what that is. Sriani's just asking, what is SEO search? SEO is search engine optimization. So it's optimizing your website and optimizing your business to be able to be easily found on search engines like Google. So that's a very important process you go about when you're designing a website. Is not just designing the website, but also then going and making sure that you have a website that's very easy for people to use and very easy for people to buy stuff from you on. So I hope you do come along to those ones. They do go into a lot more detail, a lot more actionable instructions about what to do on each one of those different stages. My name is Dante St. James. Thank you so much. I'm sorry my video is not working. Otherwise, I'd give you a big wave into the camera right now. The camera just decided it wanted to cark it today. So I'm going to be restarting the computer and hopefully starting up that camera again. You can find and connect with me through email, through dante@treaty.com.au, or connect with me through all the socials, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and particularly on YouTube. If you look for my name on YouTube, you find I've got a great big channel full of nearly 80 different videos, which this one will be included in the next couple of hours and added onto my YouTube channel as well, to give you an opportunity to watch these things again. If there's something you didn't get, you'll be able to see that again, to understand a bit more about what the basics are of marketing, and then in the future too, how to get known, get found, and specifically stay known for your business as well. Thank you so much. You have a great night, and I hope you all got a bit of rest over that Easter weekend as well. Thank you, and have a great week.